Hi, everybody. Good evening. This is Rabbi Selwyn Franklin calling you from Modi'in in Israel. For those of you who have not been to Modi'in, it's halfway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, pretty much in the center of the country. And Eileen and I, we live here most of the year, and we do spend time, of course, in America to see our son in New York, and also in Australia to see our son in Australia. We are very fortunate to have 2 of our children and 7 of our grandchildren living here in Modi'in, almost 5 to 7 minutes walk from where we live. Of course, I'm in connecting with you during this very, very terrible, horrific time in Israel. One cannot possibly imagine how disgusting the activities of Hamas were, starting, of course, on Simchat Torah. I was walking to shul on Saturday morning because, as you might remember, this eighth and the 9th day of Sukkot are actually one day in Israel, and that was the day of Simchat Torah. And I was walking to shul at 8 a.m. in the morning, and a military car, an unidentified military car, came in my direction. There were no other cars at all on the road. And a sergeant rolled down her window and told me, "There are rockets from Gaza and you should go home immediately." I turned around, went straight back to our place, and I gently awoke Eileen, and we went into our sealed room, closed the steel door, made sure we had the adequate provisions and also, of course, water, and awaited an alarm, awaited a siren, at which point we would have to lock ourselves, as it were, in the sealed room. And sure enough, at about 11 a.m., the siren went off, and we immediately entered the sealed room, and within seconds we heard a big boom, and of course the Iron Dome that protects our area had been launched and was able to intercept the rocket that was coming from Gaza in our direction, and thank God no one was killed. However, as you all know, there was a terrible onslaught in the border area of Gaza where hundreds of people were murdered, and of course taken into captivity. This morning, 2 of the hostages were released, and I, of course, listened to the report of one of the hostages as she came out of the hospital in Tel Aviv, an 86-year-old woman who described with great pain her experience in being taken into custody by the Hamas terrorists. We, of course, are anticipating a ground invasion. At the present moment, there are rockets going off all over Israel. I just spoke to my cousin in Ra'anana, and she told me that there were 2 sirens. And again, thank God no one was injured. But when the ground invasion happens, which should happen in the next few days, please God, Hamas will be eradicated from off the face of the earth, so they will never again challenge us Jewish people. I was perturbed, of course, about some of the anti-Semitic responses throughout the world. In particular, you might have seen at the Sydney Opera House, a whole group of Palestinian sympathizers were standing on the steps of the Opera House, which was painted in blue and white colors, shouting on top of their lungs, "Death to the Jews, kill the Jews." I trust that in Denver, things are a little better there, but we must, of course, acknowledge the incredible contribution that President Biden has made, his unequivocal support of Israel, his commitment to provide Israel with replenishment of its arms, and of course, giving Israel a green light to go ahead and do what it's necessary to do to be able to be safe and secure. It was interesting because a plane flew over Bondi Beach, the famous beach in Sydney, Australia, and on its tail it had the words "never again." We do pray and hope that indeed this will be the last time that Jewish people will be murdered for being Jews. I also am reminded about Blinken, the Secretary of State's comments when he came here, and he said 2023 is not 1943, whereas in 1943 we had no army to defend us, no army to stand up for us, and now Israel, of course, has this powerful army which I'm sure will take the necessary retribution and make sure that Jews all over the world continue to be safe. Let me wish you all a special experience in the next few days. Let's hope and pray that none of you experience anti-Semitism, and that we Jews will live in safety and security. As we say in the Psalms, Hashem oz le'amo yitein, Hashem yivarech et amo v'shalom. God will give peace to his people, and God will bless his people with peace. Amen.